Koka sunarai sunarayenti. 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 Koka sunarai sunarayenti.
Hello, hi, welcome to this episode of the Mango TV podcast. Today we have Mathia Milani. I will read you the biography as usual. This is a bit longer than usual, but I think it's worth it. Mathia Milani is one of the founders of the Ibiza community Tierra Iris. Tierra Iris is built of two main ideas: gathering conscious, creative and loving people in one place and together birthing and maintaining a regenerative land as a team. But more than anything, it is a way of living, a way of understanding through experimenting that the future of harmony, sustainability and abundance exists so close to us. Tierra Iris began as an idea of experimenting through regenerative farming, but it has organically grown into so much more than that. It's become a community. We're beginning to deeply understand that it's the people who give the place its name. It's the people who make it such a nourishing place of growth. With the principle of giving and receiving without doubt, in alignment with nature and each other, we have all grown our internal and external riches. It's as if the vision is coming alive by itself, seeding, sprouting, sapling, pollinating through blooms of wisdom and through magic, expanding through time and space. You could call Tierra Iris a movement of people who aims to regenerate places, infusing their hearts, talent and soul into physical space. It's beautiful to witness when someone new comes. They change and enrich the entire farm with their unique energy. When they leave, you still feel their loving presence everywhere, and the farm has magically changed again. Soon, in a near future, we will be navigating towards new waters and spaces, reviving and enriching lands through the Tierra Iris principle. Welcome, Mathia.
Thank you.
So, allow me a couple of minutes of why you're here. So, Mango TV is mostly a production company, and we are known for a number of documentaries we made on psychedelic science, on psychedelic medicine, and then from there we evolved into this exploration of regeneration. What does it mean to regenerate ourselves? What's the difference between transformation, evolution? And of course, the topic of building community, living in a more harmonious way is critical to not just to Mango TV interest, but to the fate of this planet. So we are very interested to hear from you how building the community Tierra Iris in Ibiza is going. Also, Mango TV is developing a TV show called Post-Capitalistic Societies, where we have the same host living 1 month in Finghorn, Damanhurn, Tamera, Pachamama, Oroville, and more. We did already Tamera, was very interesting. Hopefully we're going to have an opportunity to talk about it. But let's jump in with you and a little bit your personal story. What's your journey? What was the cathartic event that made you decide to live in community? Tell us a little bit your story.
Thank you, Giancarlo. The story. So I was born in Italy, in a little town called Sanremo.
Oh, nice. Like my mother. Actually, I think we discussed it already.
Very close to the south of France, with a very liberal mother, I would say. She got me when she was 18. She was born in Finland, and we grew up basically me and her together. And I never had this sense of family, right? Because it was just me and her. And so I grew up as a kid, like looking at other kids' life and looking at their family and taking example of them. And this is how I developed myself as a kid. Always try to copy and paste a situation where love was always present, which was lacking into my family system at the time. And then I went to the high school in Sanremo, and then my mother, actually, when I was 17, she moved to Ibiza, And she moved with my little brother that at the time was 4 years old, and then she gave birth in Ibiza of my little sister Eva. And so we always kept this very beautiful connection with the island. Apparently, when I was 1 year old, I started to walk for the first time in this land.
Nice.
and then 18 years old, I moved to Milan. I studied economy and management for the hospitality sector. And funny enough, my thesis was based on a branding of an agricultural project, which was related then to hospitality. And so I was not even knowing why at the time I was dedicated and focused my thesis on this project, but then it ended up that I currently doing this. And then from Milan, I started to travel the world. I moved to Argentina. I work with a big company that was doing agriculture and in the south of Argentina. And then so I spent 3 years there. And then I moved to Monaco and I started to work for the Italian embassy in Monaco. And then I moved in between London and Moscow, working for a real estate company. And when I was living in Moscow, at the time, my project was mostly oriented to helping and facilitating people to buy property abroad. It was like, but then the rubble collapsed, and then I had to move back to London. I had no idea how I would able to self-sustain myself in a city as London, and so. Ideally, I started this business in hospitality where I was renting property and subletting them for corporate rentals. And it has been very successful. We had around 120 properties in between London, New York, and Lisbon.
Wow.
And so I started to really deal with hospitality, right? I was like taking care of the holidays and of many people all over the world. And then coronavirus happened, and then my whole business structure collapsed because the cash flow was not enabling for me to survive.
Because people were not going on holiday anymore.
So that's what happened. But that's more or less what happened until I've landed in Ibiza. So this year of the coronavirus were very fundamental in my personal journey. I've decided to dedicate my time and my life to my passion, which was about permaculture. And so I started to study permaculture in Mexico. And then from the permaculture, the evolution was randomly I access to this course of 1 month in one of the oldest eco community.
Where?
In Tepoztlan, Mexico, which is called Huehuecoyot, which with Findorm and Damanur and many others are the one that are hosting this course, which is called EDE course from the Gaio University, which basically are teaching you how to build eco community. And then and after I studied there, I started to understand about. I had this cathartic moment there when I understood that there was these things called collective intelligence. And the collective intelligence was way more powerful than individual intelligence.
But how did you get this awareness?
It was through a simple activation where we were asked to present our project to a group of people in the course. And these people, they were able to access the information of the project and then implementing it with their ideas and see what was happening at the end of this activation. And you start to, and the project at the time was a land in Bacalar in Mexico, which I would have loved to regenerate. And I started to understood at the time that there were so many people that they were coming to me and asking me like, so when we're starting, and it's like I can't because I don't have the financial budget now to start it. It was like, well, we don't need money. We just need to go and volunteering our time and making sure that your project could be alive. And I was like, oh, these people are really existing. and at the time it was fascinating to see that there are so many people around the world that they're really coming from a place of love and truth, where they really want to be aligned and living in a vision of living in harmony, and for them, there is no condition or precondition of like how we should work in order to get something back. And so I was like, wow, there are these humans around the world. So I really want to connect with them and really want to work with them, because this is how it feels. This feels right to me. And I also understood with this collective intelligence that there are many people that are sharing the same vision in life. And if you're able to connect them through a meeting, then whatever is coming out through this meeting, it's super powerful, because everyone really is really bringing their soul into the circle. And there is this intelligence it's the intelligence of the universe, of the world, where everyone is participating in a little thing or a big things, but in the end, the final result is perfect. And while this final result, if starting only from an individual, it's not perfect at all, if we can call it perfect.
But so this individual, they had in common this integrity about their desire to live in harmony with himself, with others, and nature. But what does it mean?
It means that, as you probably said in your introduction, while you're having a very profound experience or deep connection with nature that could come from psychedelic or just for the fact that you have been always living in connection with nature, you understand that living in a society or in a system that it doesn't represent you anymore, it's not easy. And so certain people, they decided that they want to live differently. And these people are the ones that they want to reconnect and having this harmony with nature. And so I feel that that's their vision, right? Yes. So I feel that it's just kind of separating themselves from a much more common vision of how we should live. And these people, they just try to figure out another way.
Yeah, which is maybe not so individualistic, but more based on the rhythm of nature. And, they talk about biomimicry. So following nature operating principle, which is a flow, a constant change. There's no linear solution. And but so that was your beginning of your awakening. So you were in Mexico?
The beginning of awakening definitely happens through psychedelic journeys. Before that, yeah, I think was at Burning Man, and it was my birthday in my life.
Which year were you? Which year was that? How long were you in that birthday?
I think I was maybe 6 years ago. 6 years ago. And funny enough, I grew up in a family where they had a lot of problem with drugs and alcohol and so on, like very heavily. And so I always
shy away.
Find myself in a position where I knew what was coming after this kind of situation. So I was like always, I never tried drugs, I never tried cigarettes, I never really drink alcohol. And then I was in my birthday, Burning Man, and I was like, someone offered me this chocolate mushroom. And I tried, and there was things dots start to connect very easily. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it was like, it definitely starts this very light spiritual awakening. And then I've been testing multi-discipline around spirituality. And then I think the beginning of the journey starts when you start to build your own place, right? Yes. And how you want to have it in harmony within yourself. And so that was the beginning.
And which year? That was 6 years ago. And which year was Mexico, the permaculture course?
2020.
Okay, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so you decided you felt the resonance with this other individual. You felt the power of this common goal of living in harmony with nature. And what brought you to Ibiza then?
Ibiza was never into the scenario. It was always like very far away. I was at the time and during COVID actually, I was like thinking to moving to Portugal because I bought some land in Portugal and I was like, I'm moving to Portugal and I'm just gonna start my new project, which was not related to eco-community. It was related to eventually permaculture, but not to eco-community. And then I received a call from one of the partners about this land in Portugal, and was March of last year, so 2021, and they told me I rent out this beautiful land in Ibiza, and I want to go and live there with my family. But then all of a sudden I've been renting out another property, which is a little bit more luxurious, right? And this guy out of nowhere asked me, why don't you start to apply all the principles that you learn into this land in Ibiza, and then if it works, then whatever is going to happen next in Portugal, we can replicate it. So just take this as an example in Ibiza, and we see as an experiment and see how it goes. Nothing to lose, let's try. So the island was calling me back. I had no picture, no video, nothing to understand how the land was at the time. But I remember very clearly that in one meditation that I had with the cacao, I was able to see this land from above, and I was already designing it from above. And when I came to Ibiza, it was just exactly the same place that I had in my previous meditation in Mexico. And so the island
I'm not going to let that go. Now we need to unpack it a little bit. So the cacao was a bridge to some sort of morphogenetic field?
The cacao came after an ayahuasca ceremony. It was a few days after. And normally when I'm doing ceremony, which is happening once a year only, I'm going in service and I'm praying. So I'm not allowing myself to go into many dimensions, because my job, that's what I'm feeling, is just to keep sustaining the process. And so when I'm in ceremony, I'm always going for praying, not for any other purpose. While when I'm taking cacao, or when I'm going to very deep meditation, I'm allowing myself to go into different dimensions. And cacao was this medicine for me that is really opening my heart and allow me to go into this
remote viewing.
Space. Yeah. And
you drop it casually, but science doesn't believe that. You know that, right?
Of course.
Okay. So you saw the house.
I saw the house. I saw the land, and then from above I started to design it, and it was quite fascinating.
Amazing.
It's quite fascinating. And so when I arrived, was kind of a new place physically, but not emotionally. And the island has been so kind to me since day one. Like all the character that they had to arrive at the right time, they arrived at the right time, and allow me to be patient and to understand that there was a process. And so the universe, as we want to call it like this, was pushing me to go into this direction very, very clearly. And that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Jamie Will and they talk about when you are in flow is when what you feel, what you think, and what you do are in alignment. And then the universe plays balls with you. Then you meet the right people, the right situation just happen, and it's beautiful. I had that, not always.
It's like this amazing river. No, you are into this river, and you're just flowing with it. And the only person that can really stop the river, it's you. If you just want to stop in the middle, so you surrender.
Yeah, surrender, and it's this idea of being being engaged, but not being attached, which is difficult to understand because people say, what do you mean? If you're engaged and you give all yourself, you're also so attached about the outcome. But no, you find that space where you do your best, you feel you're in service, and you just trust. And if you fail this, you just think that's part of the process. But it's easier said than done.
Well, the land itself was a rented land for a certain amount of years with no clue how we were able to activate this. There was very little financial. At the time, because of this whole COVID situation, my whole other companies, they went completely down. And so the idea is also the universe was preparing me to surrender to the fact that I had to do things differently and not think in a way that I would have acted before, with this business mentality.
The scarcity mentality.
Yeah. So the scarcity mentality helped me to be very creative and also think out of the box, And so it was perfect. Everything was making so much sense. But this idea of using this land as a playground and not being attached to it, knowing that at the beginning we were planting so many seeds and trees and putting so much effort and work and knowing that it's not yours brings you into this space of non-attachment because a lot of people, they wouldn't understand the process. They would say oh, it's not even your place, why you're putting so much love. It's because it's the soil and the land is for everyone. There is the idea of a private property. It's just doesn't resonate with me any longer,
Yeah, especially when it's about the land. Yeah. So let's continue with the chronology. So you find you called a few friends, you find the right partner to sign up the lease.
Mm-hmm. So that's another thing. The lease was already signed. So for me, the agreement that I had was mostly to repay back the entire year of the lease, and then I think that the whole experience of Tierra Iris start with the name itself. At the time right before arriving to the land, I was working with Alvaro, which is one of my best friends, and he wanted to be involved in this project very, very deeply. And we were thinking about, okay, what we're going to create in this land. And Mia was coming from all of this permaculture retreat, and I was living at the time with so many of these people that we can call them hippie, if you want. And I was graduated as an hippie in my eco community design course. And then I was I really want to bring this principle into this land. And the principle, basically, they gravitate around this main focus, which is how we should recreate harmony into our land and how we can regenerate.
Do you have them on top of your head, this permaculture principle?
Yeah, most of them.
Let's mention them for our listeners.
Oh wow, sono 9.
So there are 9. Okay, maybe the one that resonated the most with you. I know that the symbol of the permaculture is the vulture that basically recycle life, right? Because the vulture eats the dead people and then gives baby to little vulture, so turns death into life.
Which is also the symbol of the third door of the Temazcal, which is funny. But in any case, one of the main principles, especially when you go into a new land, is to observe the land, not actively doing anything, not thinking with our mind, but just observing what nature is telling us to do. And so you need to spend a certain amount of time in order to understand exactly which one are the dynamic, knowing that there are many living beings into this land, and one little action from humans can change the course of their ecosystem. And so spending time just in observing the land is maybe one of the most important action. And then actively start to designing the land in a way where the energies can flow in a certain way. permaculture, it's a way of designing land. It's not a way of living, right? It's a way of designing. That's what they call, when you do your PDC, which is the permaculture design certificates, is a way of designing spaces. And one of the most important aspect is as a humans, where we place ourselves into this land, and where we have this energy zonification, and how we can create this zone where the energy will be contained. And so with all of these principles, there are many, many more. I start to design the land of Tierra Iris, but the main one was definitely, how we should promote ourselves. And so the name is one of the most important aspects of it. And I was trying to find the name, and it was like this idea of Casa Armonia, or Harmony House, or whatsoever. And nothing was really aligned with what I was thinking. So at the time, I remember 2 years before, I had this incredible temazcal in Mexico, in Oaxaca. And it was a very intense one. And I think second or third door, I start to see a lot of rainbows. And every time I'm seeing something very powerful in one of these deep connection with the cosmos, or with Mother Earth, I'm always asking myself why I'm seeing this. And at the time, I was asking myself why I'm seeing rainbows. And the answer, information that I received, was that the rainbows, they were portal of manifestation. And so every time we see a rainbow, we should see it, taking our time and manifesting what we want for our life. And then the rainbow is opening this portal for us. And so I think I was already in Spain, and so one night I was looking at the sky, and I saw this beautiful sunset with multicolors, and then I remember this experience I had in the temazcal with the rainbows, and it's like, let's check it out, in Google, if what I found out about the rainbows, they were exactly the information I received, and all of a sudden I was not able to find any of this information in Google, and the only thing that popped up very clearly was this prophecy, and it was a prophecy from the Native Americans, from the Hopi family, and the prophecy was saying exactly this: that our Mother Earth, in one moment in our history, will start to be sick and tired, and our water will start to be dark and gray, and our soil will start to be unfertile, and the animals, they will start to disappear. And when I was reading this, I was like, oh wow, this is exactly the moment I'm living in right now. And the prophecy continues and says, well, just in this moment, they're gonna come a new group of individuals, a new group of souls from different color, different gender, different culture, different nations. And they will gather together, and they will reestablish harmony in Mother Nature. And these people, they will be called the Rainbow Warrior. Wow. And so I was like, oh wow, this makes so much sense. And so Tierra Iris means the land of the rainbow, and means that we are this land that want to gather this rainbow warrior to come together and to reestablish harmony in Mother Nature.
Beautiful. But Iris, in which language means rainbow? In Greek.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And Tierra means land, soil. And so that was the main idea around the name. And basically, with the time, we gather many, many rainbow warriors, and
amazing.
It's still happening. Yeah.
And so, okay, so let's get into the specific. How many beds do you have? How many people can you have at full capacity?
Can I just do one sequence back. Which
Of course.
The sequence back is that we start with this idea of permaculture design and regeneration of the land, and everything was beautiful. We did many workshop and course around how we should treat our soil, and many workshop around music and art. And then the project started from individuals with this idea of with different ideas in how we should operate this land. But the idea of the community was there on my side, but was never really part of the big scheme when we started this project. By the end of last summer, we started to understood that individuals have different opinion, different idea, and this is when, especially was one very interesting problem, which was around cleaning of the house.
For example.
Very very simple one, and then we were just discussing how many times the cleaner should come. And there was so much conflict around little problems, and I was not able to sort it out because everyone had his own opinion, And so in September, we was just woke up one morning and it's I don't think that none of us could have to choose who is right, who is wrong. We're let's just gather a group of the people that are currently spending more time into this place, and let's try to define the rules and the agreement of this place. And from this agreement, we started to understood that in the group there was this perfect output coming out, which was making everyone happy. And so the principle of the community were born from a disagreement of individual. And the land itself was asking us to gather as a group and to find solution as a group. And that's when, in September of last year, we started to activate this experiment of a community, which now it has been more than 9-10 months. It has been working quite perfectly in harmony and disharmony, but quite perfectly. And so from there, everything, it has been evolving in a very expansive way. And the project of these two individuals finished on September last year, and now it has been open for many more to be part of it. And so I feel that, especially when you are taking care of a land, the idea of doing it alone doesn't work. And so that's what.
So these two individuals that finished their job, that was the syncretic agriculture from Brazil, that synthropy, that give you some guidelines to how to create this regenerative agriculture. And so you were saying that it started with the cleaning, for example. You felt the need to set down some sort of rules and regulation of the community. But so is this, when you're at full capacity, how many people live there?
Full capacity, we have 12 people of the community plus another 12 to 15 people, visitors during the summertime.
I see. So you have the main house, then there is some RV, some teepee, some tent. So there is this, there's the resident all year round, and then the visitor. And okay, so what are the challenges? I mean, what does, if you think about the moment where you were the most frustrated, I'm sure you were not almost ready to give up, because I felt
almost every week.
But okay, tell me a couple of examples when you were really frustrated.
Well, you spend most of your money into this project, especially for the community, most of your time and energy, and you're doing it for others because you are in service. And then you know that some other people, they have their personal life, and they're putting their personal life before the need of the community, that's when you're getting most of the frustration.
I see. But so there are some basic financial sponsors. That's the first, I think, maybe imbalance, because if
there is an imbalance on this, because going back to the beginning of this land, there was never the idea of having a community. And so if I would have to start it again, eventually I would take a land and then we would divide equally the rent and the first part of the activation. But then eventually we also need to understand that most of these people that have a lot of energy and an open heart, sometimes they're not really integrated with the mindset that we have about working and times and so on. So sometimes they have very little resource.
And responsibility
as well. So I don't know if it exists, the perfect formula. I think the perfect formula would be we take a land all together and we share all the cost. I think that it's very difficult to achieve this. So you always need to have someone that is truly believing into this process and activating it, and then then equally share the responsibility and the financial need in a second step. And then people, they start to take their own risk and their own responsibility, and they really dedicate their life for this vision.
Yeah. But so, I just wanted to be very, very granular, almost boring for some people. But, we've done on this podcast a lot of theory, and I really want to dig into the practicality. So, you could be, there's nothing stops you from get your equal partners now. And why do you think it's been difficult to find like-minded people that want to commit to take chunk of the rent? And why? Because you said, maybe if I could go back, I would take equal partners. But why is that not possible now?
Well, if you invest yourself €100 and you want really to do it, you can't ask after that everyone is coming equally to share. You're 10 people to share the €10, no? Because maybe they're gonna asking you, why did you spend certain amount of money in this and certain amount of money.
It becomes more democratic process on how many trees to plant, what tree to plant, and stuff like that.
Exactly, and sometimes in little things. For example, now we're in a full community project, but sometimes you're carrying a vision that other ones they might not have at the moment. They're gonna go into the process of having it, and sometimes you want to take the risk of planting more trees because you think it's necessary. Is the right approach or not? I don't know. It's also interesting to find, especially now we're talking about Ibiza in the practical way, but like finding a land and having 10 individuals fully committed and fully financed to take over land in Ibiza, it's quite complicated.
Because it's expensive.
It's expensive, and eventually people, they don't have access straight away to this amount of money.
But you guys have a way now. You're trying to monetize your, the sound healing and the some of the product that you are growing. I see you have a beautiful Tierra Iris shop. There's a lot of things there. So the idea is to becoming sustainable.
The ultimate idea is to become autosufficient.
Yeah. And how far away are you from that? I mean, I don't want a number. Just, is it growing?
It's growing. It's a process. It's a big process. This few weeks ago, we started our first vegetable garden for the community to start to be autosufficient and not buying
at the market
products at the market anymore, and financially as well. Like when we were hosting retreats or we were hosting people, we try to have all the people of the community that are involved in some of the activities so they can get back some of the incomes that we're generating in the land. And we are still far, but not too far. Like I would say, halfway.
Halfway.
And it's 1 year that we've been there, so it's
Yeah,
not too long.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I think that, as nature is telling you, there is a process of accumulation and then a process of abundance. We've been into a big process of accumulation, and now we start to be abundant, and so we're able then to share, what we get into our land through all the rest of the community. And abundance means this, when you have a lot of products, you can choose what you want, which one is the best out of it, and that's what's happening right now. Like, we basically just were able to share more and more of the resources that are happening there.
I see. So the model is that there is a financial sponsor who has the vision, who bankrolled the activity, and so it's a little bit the traditional capitalistic model of the business owner.
Yes, I think it's a mix. I think I think the capitalistic journey is not completely wrong. I think should be readapt. I think what is the intention behind is the most important part, which we're mostly missing into the capitalistic journey, and what is the level of speed of growth we want to apply. And in my case, that it's mostly referred to the fact that the intention is so strong that, and the trust on the universe is so strong that I know that everything is going to come at the perfect time, and the perfect, and the also the financial needs, they're coming in the right time. So to make it grounded, yes, you need someone that it needs to activate this process first. Now we are learning for the next project or the next land how we should take responsibility and risk together as a community. And so we can eventually gather these 10 people that eventually they don't have the financial needs, but instead of always thinking that they need to put money, maybe they can put work and they can put their talent, and then it could go equally into their support for the next project. And so there is not anymore one leader that needs to take care of and responsibility of all the financial resources, but it's the whole community that is taking care of the whole needs of the community.
Yes. But so there is 12 resident and 12 visitor, let's say. How does the selection process? I mean, this is something that you decide personally, or you have a committee that votes? I mean, when there's someone leaves, and there's an empty room, maybe you have several applicants.
Yeah, we're discussing about this today. We're not there yet. For now, there was only a moment of trust from the universe of the people.
So whoever comes
at the beginning, yes. Now the circle is closed because we need to work and we need to integrate and we need to move forward.
You need to be sustainable.
And the next process is how we are going to be able to allow other people to come in, and I don't really have the answer right now for that. We are learning it as we're evolving. But definitely it's very interesting because I'm not very attached to the idea of space, because I open up the door of everyone to be part of it. But the community itself sometimes is getting very attached and very protective about their space. Mm-hmm. And so you always need to create this moment of entropy, where you put new people, new participants, in order to have the movement growing. If not, it's becoming a bit sometimes static and stagnant. No? Yeah. So I feel that this idea of keep this community open to others, it's one of the essential rules of Tierra Iris, because we have this idea of creating a caravan of people that they can go and activate in other places, rather than having one land where we all sit together and we stay there. We do believe that the work that we have to do as humans. It's a little bit larger than just staying into one place, especially right now in the moment we're living in. We do feel that we need to go around and reactivate and regenerate other places. So
outside Ibiza,
outside the world. So we're definitely open for other people to come in. Maybe it's not part of the physical land at the moment, but could become part. Someone wants to be part of this community, could become part of it in the near future for other lands. And so, yeah.
And the practical organization, for example, of the shopping and cooking, do you guys take turns? How does it work? Or everybody has his little space in the fridge?
So most important is the group meeting. So once per week is a group meeting where we discuss about the task, the to-do list, and the emotional problems we had during our week. It's the most important process of a community. And then regarding the space, yes, everyone has his own space where he can store his food inside of the fridge or outside of the fridge. We try to have community lunch and dinner at least once a week. The rest is very open. And we try
just to be together without specific agenda.
Exactly. We have agenda about what's happening in the farm around, training together, having once a week meditation together.
But that's required, or
well, now we have this farming day, which is required. Mm-hmm. We have 3-4 hours farming every Thursday evening, which is required for everyone if they want to eat their own food.
Yeah. So it's not learning; it's really farming.
It's really farming.
Yeah.
This is going to be once a week. And then the rest is required. But it's quite open. We don't have very rigid rules. Also to have other peoples that, we feel that we can create this bridge with other beings that they're not fully committed and they want to commit, but they have a slower process to commit. So we keep it quite open.
But so what happens if someone never comes to the group meeting, doesn't do the farming, doesn't really feel part of the community? There's going to be a moment where you have to give them a notice, or it's not that strict? No, like my son.
No, of course. We're going through this process as
right
well.
Now,
right now as well. It's all about sharing in the group and finding the best outcome without having personal attachment to this person. And just making sure that the vision that we have as a group
is respected
by everybody. If someone doesn't respect it, it's. I think that naturally they're leaving their space. It's not. You don't want to spend time or your life with the people that eventually you are not aligned. So we had people into this process that they tried to be part of it, and naturally they left the place. Because they were not completely aligned with our vision or our way of thinking and doing things, which is totally fine.
So you don't have different departments, like someone in charge of ceremony, someone in charge of booking rentals, someone. Okay.
So everyone in this group of 12 people has his own responsibility. We have
And this democratically, what happened if 2 people want the same responsibility?
Again, it was a very natural process, very organic. Everyone filled in with what they want to do.
12 is a small group after all.
Yeah, it's a very small group. So we have the house manager, they have the person in charge of the event, the person in charge of the farm, the person in charge of the animals, of the food.
But you are the pillar. So if someone in charge of the animal is sick and tired of the animal, comes to you. Or brings it out in the group meeting. And then someone maybe wants to replace him.
So then we have tasks every week that we keep changing, so everyone knows how to do certain tasks.
Yeah. And so tell me about the emotional. What is the dynamics that comes? You said, once a week we share the emotional problem. If I don't want any private information, of course, but what is the recurrent thing that you see? And even more important, are you guys implementing a practice to face this, this conditioning and this blind spot that might not be in line with the communal living and being, connected to this purpose of harmony with each other and nature. What do you see in the human psyche as the most recurrent obstacle to harmonious living?
Well, everything that we've been learning in our life now,
Yeah.
which is a great obstacle because we have.
What do you mean? Our culture, our conditioning,
our system, our society that imposed us certain
our cultural conditioning.
Yeah, which is mostly based on the fact that we are competing within each other and not collaborating and not co-commit or co-create, right? We always have this idea that something is mine and it's not yours, and I've been doing this, and so we want to be validated about what we've been doing. And I think the emotional part is mostly coming from the fact that constantly have, when you're living in a community and in the same space, you constantly have mirror with yourself, and so you're always like projecting your personal fears within another person, and these kind of emotions are coming out almost daily, and the only way to clear the space and to make sure that it's healed is about first of all being completely honest of what's happening, having an open heart and like saying this is what I perceive, this is what I feel, and the person that is receiving it doesn't have to take it personally, right? It's like, and then once this emotion it has been shared, I think the group is very capable of understanding the process of the person and making sure that we can put some sort of rules of our agreement that are helping this person to having a faster and easier process.
To feel validated.
And to make sure that the harmony could be recreated in the group.
Yeah.
Because in the end, what we keep seeking into this group is like having this harmony within each other, right? And so if there is something which is out of place, we're always trying to put it back. And so having this conscious listening and making sure that we are able to help this person processing this emotion, it's fundamental.
Yeah.
It's fundamental.
Yeah, very interesting. Have you heard about Bruce Perry? It's this English adventurer who popularized anthropology, and he visited so many tribes, and he fell in love with the Penan. It's a tribe in Borneo. They're like egalitarian tribe. You give a cigarette to a Penan, they take it in 20 little piece of tobacco and give it to all the tribe. They hunt a monkey and they divide the monkey every organ. The liver goes divided in 25 people of the community, like super egalitarian. And then they were asked to settle to get title of their land. And so, he made a documentary called Tawai, The Voice of the Forest, which I think you should be screening at Tierra Iris. And Bruce is in the island now. We'll see when he leaves. Maybe you can invite him. And he says that for the Penan, the beginning of the end was starting agriculture and starting to accumulate. Because until then they were like, nomadic hunter-gatherers. So there was like this 4 or 5 family of maybe 30, 40 people. They were moving around in the forest. They were like super in tune with the forest, radically egalitarian, and everything was perfect. And the moment they settle and they start to accumulate, then they start having problems. They start connected, even losing connection with nature. They wouldn't feel so much when the animal was. They would be becoming less good hunter. And in particular, Bruce thinks that, once before agriculture, we were completely in the right brain, completely intuitive and connected with nature. And when we started with agriculture, we started developing the left brain, which is more like calculating and rational. And Einstein says that we created a society that glorified the rational but lost contact with the intuitive mind. So this is interesting. And in Tamera, they were saying that, the most important thing is that there are more than you guys. I think there are 150 residents, and then there's another 200 visitor, and they think that the most important thing is that the resident, the community feels safe, and they develop trust, and then they have 3 meetings a week, also because they're much more, and not everybody goes at the same time, and they mirror each other on the group level.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been successful. They have a waiting list now for people to join. And Auroville, they also have a big waiting list, but both for lack of physical space. This is super interesting. We've been together almost an hour, so maybe it's a good time to start wrapping. Is there anything that the reason why I'm so interested in your community? First of all, I've been there. I felt the vibe. There's lots of love in the house. There's beautiful creativity, beautiful musician, beautiful sound healing, and then in Ibiza, like many places, it is just more affordable to live in community, and sometimes it's just possible to live in community because the land and the housing is so expensive. What advice do you have for people that, also not to jump from topic, but I think about this English writer called John Harry, who wrote a book on depression. He spent 8 years researching those clinical trials around depressed people, and really what he found out is that what really caused depression is the lack of community, is lack of connection. So this is, we've created this very individualized society that really compete with each other, which is very alienating. So what advice do you have for people that want to explore living in community? Any books, any expert, any program?
The only expert is nature.
Only expert. Yeah. So you say starting with permaculture.
No, like to resume of what you have been saying, it's beautiful to observe that our society is a reflection of how we perceive and we work with nature, right? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about agriculture, our individualism, it has been projected in nature, and we have been trying to take from nature, and we start to create monoculture, which is completely a reflection of who we are right now in our society. We live in single box in our apartment, completely separate to each other. And the same things, it's happening to plants and trees. We're separating the plants and trees.
Interesting.
And it's beautiful to observe how the soil, it's getting completely deployed from all the resources because we're applying this principle.
Yeah, it's a great metaphor. Yeah.
And our soul, which is basically the essence of the soil, it's exactly the same. Humans that are living into their individual box, they are completely soulless,
Amazing.
And so how we should bring back this soul and soil into alignment, into the harmony. It's by observing how a wild nature is working, right? Like wild nature, it's the real nature, it's forest. And you can observe in the forest that there are different plants, different trees. Everyone is serving a purpose, a very beautiful purpose. And into the forest, plants, they are living out of unconditional love. Certain plants, they are dying to make other plants rebirthing, or like just making sure that the ecosystem could continue growing. And we lost this as humans, we are going to this competition process, and we are not acting from a place of love. And if we go back into this process of learning how plants are living in community and learning that everyone has his own process, has his own task, and making sure that this one is serving a much more larger ecosystem and a much more larger vision of the universe. Then we will find our mission, and it will be much easier for us to live as a human when we find out what is our real mission in our ecosystem, in this case in a community. And so I do see only a perspective where humans, they can live as a community and where they can really elevate each other into higher frequency, because alone we are not able to find our mission. And so my only suggestion would be spending more time in nature, observing how animals and plants, they're talking to each other, and applying exactly the same rules as humans, and would make everything much easier.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time. It was amazing. And I love to invite you here like every 6 months, so you can update our listener on the progress of the community. We're gonna
experiment,
which is an experiment, of course, a beautiful experiment. TierraIris.com.
Yeah, we didn't put too many information about what's going on, but Instagram is quite good, and now we're going to put some more information in TierraIris.com of what is our mission and vision, and how what is the Rainbow Caravan, which is this community that wants to expand and moving around and reactivating and regenerating places.
Like the ambassadors of Tierra Iris. Amazing. But do you have product on your shop that people can buy?
Well, now like everyone in the farm is like starting to create their own products. But at the moment we're not still in this process of abundance where we can sell our products. For now, it's mostly for our farm to table experience, or for people of the house to use it for their own cooking. But yeah, we don't have products.
Amazing. Congratulations. Thank you so much, and speak to you soon.
Grazie.
Koka sunarai sunarayenti. 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 Koka sunarai sunarayenti.